time across the whole spectrum of the state, actually the nation. But we need to talk through some stuff and understand the position that we're in at the state level and what services the Texas Workforce Commission and my office may be able to provide to local employers. So we're going to get right into it. The first item is Senator Lucio. Would you please give us a welcome?
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I want to just say this morning that it's an honor to be with you all in this teleconference. Before we begin, I want to thank you, our Executive Director, Mr. Pat Hobbs, for inviting me to provide our Valley employers this welcome. I have to add to that I've known Mr. Hobbs. Pat and I have been friends for a number of decades, and I have seen all the wonderful things he has done and all the success he has had in working for people. If anybody can collaborate and come together and lead, it's Mr. Hobbs. So thank you. Now, as I have stated publicly, in the last couple of months, our state has asked much from Texans as it's striven to contain the COVID-19 outbreak. Unfortunately, the state's public health order meant to protect everyone from COVID-19 took a toll on many, especially on you, the members of our business community throughout the state of Texas. That is why, as we work to recover and reopen Texas, I am extremely thankful of state leaders who truly have compassion to the plight of local employers, like my good friend Aaron Demerson, Texas Workforce Commissioner for Employers. I have had the honor to work with Commissioner Demerson over the years during his tenure for the state. It is truly inspiring to see the partnership between the Texas Workforce Commission and Workforce Solutions Cameron in hosting this virtual town hall for you, our Valley employers. As Commissioner Demerson and Executive Director Hobbs can attest, I am a legislator who is driven by helping create and nurture employment opportunities in South Texas. That is why in 2013, I authored the $15 million budget rider that was critical to help bring SpaceX to our backyard. And it is the same reason why I worked with the TWC over the years, from the time Diane Rath was TWC chair, to increase the appropriations to the Skills Development Fund so that employers would have the necessary support to help strengthen their businesses by having higher skilled labor. Now, forums like today's town hall are critical for us to hear how we can strengthen our state's resolve and programs to better help you employ more of our constituents. That is why today's forum is so timely. Today's town hall is all about how our state experts and officials can help you, our Valley employers, through the transition of reopening our economy. As leaders in our community who are the engines that drive our economy, it is an honor to be with you as you have an opportunity to have your questions answered by our expert panelists. The Workforce Commission and the Workforce Solutions Cameron are joined today by officials who may be able to assist you in your reopening efforts and answer your questions regarding unemployment insurance and on retaining needs of your staff. We stand together along with the Governor's Office of Economic Development to listen to your concerns because you are the catalyst that will help our economy moving again. In closing, I want to say there is no doubt in my mind that the partnership that we have developed over the years will prove to be helpful to propel your businesses and our local economy to new unprecedented levels. So thank you. Welcome to your virtual town hall meeting. I want to leave you with one thought and question, and you can answer this later. I did have one phone call that was very disturbing. This poor lady from the Mid-Valley and her husband opened up a meat market, a new one, after their last child went off to college at the island, to add to the one they had already in Weslaco. Shortly after, the husband got real sick and died. He had a partner, and you won't believe this, as they were getting into their business and all, he got very ill and passed. Now, the problem is that she was in the hospital herself for some reason or another, and she got behind her payments, and now she's locked out. She can't even get in. So there's problems between the lessor, leasing, in businesses. And I want you all to look at those issues, because I know there are others out there in our area of the state that might be going through the same thing because of the coronavirus pandemic. So I hope that you all have a very fruitful town hall, and I'm here to do everything I can to be a service to you all. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Senator. Well said. Next, I'd like to invite our Cameron County Judge, Eddie Trevino Jr. Eddie, you on? I think you're muted.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. It kept saying that the host had muted me. I didn't know.
I'm not smart enough to do that, Eddie. It wasn't me.
I didn't know I had upset anybody at the workforce this morning. It's only 10 o'clock. I figured it may be later in the day before I did that. Somebody wanted to shut me up, but I'm kidding. Just so in case that runs it, you may run into that problem later on, that if anybody else that you need to speak. Pat, good morning. Good morning to everybody. So nice to see everybody. It's unfortunately, these Zoom meetings are now becoming quite common and not that unusual, but they certainly can never replace the face-to-face and person-to-person contact that is critical, I think, for our society. But in any event, because of what we're dealing with, I think this is the way of the world for the near future. I want to commend you, Pat, and your entire team, and the entire state, actually. There was no handbook. There is no handbook on how to deal with a pandemic. None of us were around in 1918. World has changed quite a bit since then. I think we're learning every day the difficulties, the dangers, and the price that can be paid if we're not careful. We have to balance the protection and health of our constituents, of all of us here in the state of Texas, and in particular Cameron County, while at the same time making sure that our economy moves forward and our constituents have the ability to earn a living and give them that sense of being that work gives to each and every one of us. So I know these have been extremely trying times. We've been kind of riding the good way for a long, long time. So sometimes I think you have to stumble a bit to figure out, to make sure that you're on the right track and learn from some mistakes. So I want to commend you and everybody at the state and the governor's office. Let me just say that it has been unfortunate that the impact of protecting people's lives has had on our economy. On the flip side to that, we're seeing the numbers continue to increase. So there has to be a good balance. And I think we still need to go out there and look for it, both from a public and private sector, on how we can continue to reopen our economy, put people back to work without endangering people's lives. Some of the comments that I've received over the last several months is, well, the people that are passing are elderly, they're older, they're predisposed to this, they've got pre-existing conditions. And I have to remind each and every one of those individuals that those, in Cameron County, we've lost 42 people as of this morning. That's something I'm gonna have to live with for the rest of my life. But each and every one of those individuals was a father or a mother or a brother or a sister, a grandfather or grandmother. And it's important that we not lose focus on that. I think we can continue to do what we're trying to do, get back to work, give people those skills necessary, and reopen Texas while at the same time doing everything we can to protect our constituents. The Commissioner's Court has been working very hard with our emergency management, with our local and state health officials to keep apprised of developments both at the local and state and federal level to see what we can do in order to do a better job. Cameron County, we unfortunately had a couple of hot spots with a couple of our nursing homes. And unfortunately, that's where our cases skyrocketed, as did our fatalities. We're doing a better job now with the nursing homes, but unfortunately, a byproduct of reopening, I think, has given some people a sense of false comfort that things are back to normal, and they're not. You know, the normal flu, usually summer times, we don't have to deal with it. Clearly, this virus is a different strain because the numbers are not decreasing, they're increasing. Last night, the report, we hit 39 individuals. The day before, we were at 32. So today, we anticipate passing 1,000 positive cases. Now, we're over 650 that have recovered, but still, over the last 3 weeks, we went from 600 to over 900 in the weeks that the state is open. So I think we need to be mindful of that. It does not have to be an either or. It does not have to be we need to completely shut down the economy and have everybody shelter in place. And it does not have to be a completely wide open where we're back to normal and not taking any precautions. So I would ask each and every one of you, the business owners, do everything you can to protect your employees. Do everything you can to protect your customers, your clientele, and be mindful of that. I did receive a question, which can I read that you all sent to me this morning?
Sure.
Okay. I received a question from somebody.
That's pretty small.
And I don't want you to think that I picked this question. Okay, this is what you all sent me, Pat. Okay. But it starts off. You are doing a great job. As a citizen of Cameron County, I have confidence in your leadership. What is the one thing that keeps you up at night that you want us to join forces towards giving you peace of mind? Well, all I can tell you is that I haven't been sleeping for about 4 months since all this kind of got started. And I know that all of our leadership, all of you are probably having the same situation. But it leads back to the simple fact, we do not have a vaccine. We do not have a medical treatment therapy set up. Hopefully soon, we'll have those issues. We'll have the vaccines, we'll have the medical treatments. We'll have more information. Every day we're learning more and more about this virus. But by the same token, all we have in our toolbox is the ability to social distance, the ability to avoid others, close contact, and utilize facial coverings. It should not be a political issue. It's not a constitutional issue, but wearing a mask, a facial covering protects you and others from the virus. So I think if we can just have everybody do those few things, we can continue to reopen the economy with those safeguards in place. Once we get a vaccine, once we have a treatment, once we have more information about it, I think we'll be in better shape. But I'm hopeful that everybody does their part. We can continue to do this. The economy in Cameron County was booming. Unfortunately, all of this has had an impact with regards to some of the projects. Pat, I know you're aware that perhaps the LNGs may be delayed as a result of all this. But let's look at that as an opportunity to continue to prepare our workforce. SpaceX continues to increase. In October, there were about 250 employees. My understanding is that I think we've hit or close to 1,000 in the last couple of days. Obviously, they've had some success in that launch in Florida. The testing continues. They continue to manufacture here at the Boca Chica facility. So in spite of everything, we know that we're going to get past this country, this state. We've always done it in the past, but we all have to work together. We have to stay positive and be mindful and learn from these issues and crises that we've been dealing with. So I wish you the best. You know that I'm here to help you and the workforce board in any way we can at the county. And I appreciate all of your efforts and everybody that's on this call. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Eddie. Mayor Trey Mendez, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Good morning. What a coincidence that the only question the county judge got was the one that started with, "You're doing a great job."
They sent it to me. They sent it to me.
But he is doing a good job. I will say that the county judge has done a good job, and it's been an honor to work with him and work with everybody else in the state to try and get past this pandemic and what has become our new normal. And Pat, thank you for the invitation. And Aaron, I know I met you probably about 10 years ago when I first started going to the Capitol, and I was impressed by you then and even more impressed by you now. And I followed your trajectory with the state, and thank you for all that you do for us, not only in the state of Texas, but especially Cameron County and Brownsville as well. So thank you. From the city of Brownsville, I was elected almost a year ago now, and our focus has been economic development and how it is that we're going to grow our city, create wealth, and work with businesses and employers to try and make our city a destination city, a place where not only employers want to come, but other people want to come to spend their money. This new normal that we're dealing with now has kind of set us back a little bit, but it set everybody back. What it should not hold us back from doing, though, is continuing to plan for the future of our state and continuing to plan for the future of our city and our county in developing workforce programs and making sure that individuals are meeting the jobs that are in demand. I was a trustee at Texas Southmost College for 9 years, and during that time, I had the opportunity to work with Pat and others in trying to create workforce programs and trying to meet the workforce demands of our area. And in that time, I really learned the value of workforce and what skilled labor means to all of us, and how there continues to be a gap in skilled labor and the jobs that are available for those individuals that have those skills. And what I can say is I've worked closely and will continue to work closely in trying to develop programs and support from within the city. At this point in time, we have the Brownsville Community Improvement Corporation does have some initiatives they've started in response to COVID. There's grants available for small business owners. There's $10,000 grants available for some small business owners who are trying to borrow or obtain SBA loans. Our BCIC has also been pretty innovative in conjunction with GBIC in trying to attract business and industry and trying to incentivize those. And the administrative team we have with the city of Brownsville, our deputy city manager has a very strong workforce background and has done some really large economic development initiatives throughout the state and in her past employment with the city of Hutto. But I'm really impressed and have full confidence in the team that we have to understand what it means to not only create economic development incentives, but to really work with what is economic development at its most fundamental levels. So anybody that comes to the city of Brownsville, I want them to understand the message, which is Brownsville is open for business, and we understand the needs, and we understand what it is, and it's what it takes to put together a package to bring business and industry to our city. We are looking to grow our industrial and commercial base. Our commercial and industrial valuations are pretty low for the city compared to other places, and that affects our tax revenues and the monies that we have available to do certain infrastructure improvements. So we obviously realize that that's been an issue historically, and we plan to continue to grow that. As a small business owner myself, I understand what a lot of you are going through right now, how difficult it is to be both an essential business and a non-essential business. And as we start to see different sections of the state opening, I think we've learned how important it is to stay connected and the value of being connected. And one of the things that the city of Brownsville has been working on for about 6 months is bridging the digital divide. And we've been working on that for quite some time. And we just commissioned a study to do that. And we're encouraged to see that NAD Bank has made some monies available for that. So we're going to pursue those as well as any other grant funding that's available to try and bring more connectivity to our city. So what do I see for the future of Brownsville? I see a city that's innovative. I see a city that can attract industry of all different types and create wealth within our community, and a city that's going to work with our local institutions and entities to continue to build our workforce and try and bridge that gap as best we can. So thank you everybody that's on. I didn't get any questions, but I'll be around for another few minutes and then I'm going to have to leave. But thank you so much for everything you do. Commissioner Demerson, thanks for being with us. Pat, thank you for the work that you do. And County Judge, thanks for your leadership over the last 3 months now. And I know that we need to be united now more than ever. So count on me to do whatever we can to try and continue to protect our people within the county from any further spread.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. And Commissioner Demerson, Aaron, I hate to tell you, but we've known each other now for 20 years. So I'm excited. Appreciate all the work that you've always done for us. Look forward to working with you. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Trey.
Thank you.
At this time, I'll turn the meeting over to our moderator. This is Mr. Aaron Demerson. He is our current Texas Workforce Commission Commissioner representing employers. So he's your guy at the state capitol. Aaron, it's all yours. Introduce your people, let them say what they do at the capitol, and we'll move on from there. Are you muted?
Mute. Now I am unmuted.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm like Judge there. The host was not allowing me to be unmuted, and so appreciate being unmuted now. And Pat, thanks so much for the opportunity. Let me do this first of all, just to thank Senator Lucio for his commitment, his dedication. I've known him for a long time as well, and appreciate what he's done for us here at the state level and all of his leadership that he's done over the years. And his commitment to come on today means a lot to Judge. Congratulations, and just excited to see you in that position, and Mayor Trey also in the positions that you're in. Opportunity with what we're building here. I'm going to introduce you guys to Adriana Cruz next, but we have some opportunities here in Texas to do some amazing things. I know Mayor Mendez, Judge, you guys have been around, so you know what it takes to make a difference. And the team that we have here at Workforce, the economic development team that's there in the governor's office, we're in what Pat's doing on the workforce side. The governor always talks about the secret sauce being bringing the worlds of education, workforce, and economic development together. And we have opportunities to do just that as we move forward. And so I thank you guys for the work that you guys are doing day in and day out to make a difference at this level. I'm going to introduce the folks that are on this panel after opening with some comments, because we have some dynamic presenters, and then I want to get to the question and answers that you guys have as well. But the rubber meets the road at the local level, and so I want to make sure that everybody knows the work that Pat and his team are doing to make a difference in that area. It's the Workforce Solutions team at Cameron County, Cameron are important to us. And so on behalf of Governor Abbott and myself, let me offer my thanks to all of you guys that are on the call, not only for your leadership and our state and your investment in our state, not only for what you're doing today, which is very important, but what you've always done, and that's simply taking care of business. And I want you to know that we don't take that for granted at all. Governor Abbott appointed me to this position back in August of 2019, and I am privileged to actually serve as the commissioner representing employers, over 565,000 employers, 2.6 million small businesses that are throughout our state. And our goal here at TWC is to make sure that we're making a difference for those Texas employers. To put some of this in perspective, I know Pat and the team have been dealing with this from March 8th through June 5th. We've had more than 3 million claims that have been filed. That's almost taken in years worth of claims in less than 3 months. Time period, 3 years of claims, over 1 million phone calls that have been received on a number of different bases. And I think the highest number of calls we may have received were about 60,000 at one point. But 1 million calls, you begin to put that in perspective. But we're doing a number of things to make sure that we're able to answer that call. We've gone to hiring more folks. We've actually increased the number of call centers that we've had. We've gone from 4 to 8 there. We've expanded more traffic to the our mailbox by adding a chat box as well, bot as they call it as well. And we've extended our hours. We've gone from 7 to 7, 7 days a week to make sure that we're answering those questions with the sole goal being that no Texan will be left behind. You're going to have access to your benefits, and we're going to make sure that we're doing what we can to make that happen, especially here with the employers in Texas. These are interesting times, and I've often said that, folks are laying off, but at the same time, we have folks that are hiring as well. And so I encourage you guys, if you have employment opportunities, to see Pat and his team to make sure that those are known, because we want to continue, as Adriana will talk about with the governor's reopening efforts, to do that safely and strategically. But our goal is to put Texans back to work whenever we can. And so lastly, my office, we have 4 dynamic employment law attorneys who are on board. They're going to be on this call as well to answer questions that we have. But Tommy Simmons, who's our lead counsel, Melissa Chapa is going to be on the call, and Elsa Ramos as well. And then we have Mario Hernandez in our office who's answering the phones right now, taking those 1-800 number calls that are coming in. And we've been doing that for since this has started. We were doing it before, and even more so as we're moving forward. That 800 number, we're going to share that at some point. But Tommy, Elsa, Melissa, and those guys are actually going to be in a position to answer calls and have been assisting with these virtual town hall meetings that we've had statewide. And so as I close out, our hope, our prayer is that Texas will be fully open for business soon, and that we'll all be off to the races. And we're hoping that Texas will be leading the way in that regard. And so, you know, times are tough. We know that, but we always say times may be tough, pero so are Texans. And so on behalf of my fellow commissioners, Julian Alvarez, who represents labor, Chair Brian Daniels, who represents the public, you should know that we're here for you, and anything that we can do to help, we're ready to do exactly that. And so I want to turn this over and get to the meat of the matter. And I want to allow Adriana Cruz with the governor's office to bring some remarks, opening remarks, and then she'll be around, and Kelly on her team will be here as well to answer questions in that regard. But just pleased, as I mentioned, with the opportunities that we have with the mayor that's in place, the judge that's in place, the representation that you guys have there, and then Pat leading the way and with his team on the workforce side. Pat, I want to also say thank you to your board chair, Linda Alaniz. You know, appreciate her and the work that she's doing because it takes all of that to make this happen. And so with that, I want to go ahead and turn this over to Adriana Cruz, who's no stranger to it. She was doing economic development for a while, doing a lot of it in the city of San Marcos, the latest venture, and then Governor Abbott tapped into her recently. And so we're excited about the relationships and the partnerships. I have the privilege of working with her longer before then. And so Mayor, Judge, we've all been around in that regard. Adriana spent some time with us in a prior governor's office relationship as well, but we're ready to move forward in that stead. And I'll allow Adriana to bring some remarks, and then I'm gonna introduce Clay Cole, Dale Robertson, who are also on the phone, and then Kelly from Adriana's office. But we're excited about the opportunity and looking forward to the questions that you guys have, and looking forward to answering those questions. So Adriana, I want to turn it over to you at this point to bring some remarks.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Demerson. And I want to thank Pat for the invitation, and Senator Lucio, Judge and Mayor, for your remarks and for your leadership. And thank you for the invitation as well. As Aaron mentioned, I've been doing economic development for several decades. Aaron is actually my former boss at the Economic Development Office, so it's been a privilege to work with leaders like Aaron during my career at the state level, at the regional level, and then at the local level as well. But Governor Abbott appointed me in October of 2019 to lead the state's economic development efforts, and it's an incredible honor to be able to do that on behalf of the state of Texas and our Texas communities. Right now, you know, Texans are battling a colossal challenge. This is a very difficult time that's challenging not just our lives, but our livelihoods. But as Commissioner Demerson said, you know, Texans know how to overcome challenges. This has been a very difficult time for our small business owners, and of course, small business is the heartbeat of the Texas economy. So, you know, we're going to talk today about some of the things that we've been doing. On the call with us today is our small business advocate, Kelly Spillane. Kelly, give a wave so folks will know who you are. But we've been partnering with the workforce boards, with the Texas Workforce Commission on doing several of these virtual town halls across the state. We've also started doing small business webinars through the governor's office. We do in-person events, about 15 a year, which of course we cannot do anymore with the virus and the need for social distancing. So we're doing all of these online. And we've had about 10,000 small business owners participate in our small business webinars, where we talk about the programs that are available, the Paycheck Protection Program or PPP, the EIDL loans. This is such a fluid time and things are changing so rapidly and so quickly that one of the things that we have been doing is just working to get this information in the hands of our small business owners as quickly as possible. Governor Abbott's first priority has been the health and safety of all Texans during this unprecedented event. And he did a series of things early on. He issued waivers to help speed supplies and assist our state's businesses. He created the supply chain strike force very early on. He changed some regulations to allow restaurants to sell bulk products to their customers, allowing the delivery of alcoholic beverages along with food orders, and then worked on certain trucking regulations to make sure that we could get goods across the state. As the judge mentioned, the need to balance our economy and the health and safety of Texans. The governor on April 17th announced the strike force to reopen Texas, or to open Texas, and that's focused on how do we slowly, strategically, methodically open our state back for business in a way that still protects our health and safety. I'm very honored to sit on that strike force and to sit on the Governor's Strategic Advisory Council. One of the first things that we did was reach out to industry, the Restaurant Association, the manufacturers, the different industry sectors, retailers, to find out if we were to open, how could you do it and still maintain the safety protocols that are so very important, the social distancing, the increased sanitization, hand washing stations, facial coverings, how could you do it? And all of that was put together in the report to open Texas. These checklists are available online. So if you go to gov.texas.gov/open-texas, you can find all of that information. Over the past several, month and a half, there have been openings of different sectors with capacity limitations, and I'm happy to get into more detail on that during the question and answer session. But I do want you to know that we are here to help our small business owners. We're here to answer your questions and to provide information. We've put together some web resources to be able to provide the latest and greatest information to you, and know that we're here to help you during this time. So with that, Aaron, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, good. And Adriana, again, thank you for the partnership and the relationship and what you guys are doing in that regard. And I encourage all of our businesses out there, the small businesses, to the services that the governor's office has to offer, and make sure that we're getting access to any questions or concerns that you have in that regard. Thank you, Adriana. I want to quickly pivot to Clay Cole and then Dale Robertson, just have some opening remarks, and then we're going to quickly get to the Q&A at that point. But Pat, you have the man at the helm of all of this. Clay is the director of our UI department, and when we talk about all of those calls, 1 million calls, when we talk about 3 years worth of claims done in a 3-month time period, Clay is leading those efforts. Our executive director, of course, is Ed Cerna, but Clay is the director over that UI department. And Clay, I'm glad to have you on the line, and we can answer questions. We've gone quickly from employees asking a lot of questions, reopening on this side. So Clay, thanks for joining us. And if you'd have a few opening remarks, I'll do that, and then I'll move to Dale so that we can get to these Q&As real quick. Clay?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Commissioner Demerson. Just happy to be here this morning, be a part of this town hall. And I tell you, Commissioner Demerson's right, just unprecedented times and volumes that we've seen. Like he said, over 3 million claims that we've processed and paid out over $11 billion in benefits. But we're here to serve all Texas in needs. And it's like the example Senator Lucio talked about this morning. And I want to make sure before we leave that Commissioner Demerson, you or I have that contact information from that lady so that we can make sure that we help her, because that's why we're here, is to serve every one of those individuals out there. And I know sometimes it's a struggle. People are having issues in contacting us, but I can guarantee you we're doing so much behind the scenes. we are doing data analytics to go find those gaps and issues that people might have so that we can outreach. And that's one effort we're really doing with our partner call centers and our call centers, as we're doing more outbound calling so that we can get in touch with these people that need our immediate assistance. But again, thank you so much for having me a part of this town hall, and look forward to the questions, and hopefully we can provide all those answers. Thank you.
Clay, thank you for joining us, and thanks for being here and for what you and the team are doing in that regard. I know it's monumentous in what you're doing, but we appreciate what you are doing in that regard. I want to move over to Dale Robertson. Dale actually runs the Skills Development Fund. He's no stranger as well. When we're doing economic development and tourism on that side, we would always tap into the Skills Development Fund side on the workforce side. I know Adriana has utilized his programs both on all levels of her work regard. And so we have a COVID-19 special initiative that's going on as well. And Dale will talk about some of that during the Q&A, but want to give you an opportunity to briefly introduce yourself and provide a few opening remarks.
Thank you, Commissioner. Again, Dale Robertson here, Interim Director of the Office of Employer Initiatives. Greetings also to Senator Lucio and Mayor and the County Judge. Thank you guys for having us on the call. As Commissioner Demerson mentioned, one of the programs I manage is the Skills Development Fund. We have some initiatives right now on the ground, and I'm happy to say that, we've awarded in the last 5 to 6 weeks, $7 million across the state, with your own Cameron County accounting for about $750,000 of those dollars in the area to provide for training for both employers who have existing or new employees that need to be trained, as well as workers who have been laid off and need to be trained or upskilled in order to return to work. So I look forward to working with you guys. I know you have a great team there with Pat Hobbs, Texas Southmost College, Texas State Technical College, all serving the Cameron County area and the surrounding area. So look forward to participating in this call today. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Dale, for joining us. And my colleague, Commissioner Alvarez, allows Dale and his team to spend a lot of time in that neck of the woods. And they're there because are happening, and I'm looking forward to getting back out there as well. The community is so good, but just the relationships are very important. And Dale and his team take full advantage of what they have, and you guys are doing exactly that. And so we're going to move to the meat of the matter, and these are these questions. And so I'm going to fire up some questions. I want to make sure that Elsa is unmuted on our side. She's an attorney here in our office. Elsa Ramos there, and Melissa Chapa looks like she's unmuted. And I have Tommy over here to my right. We're going to social distance to make sure that he can weigh in as well on the questions. And then Adriana mentioned Kelly and Dale, and those guys will be here. But the first question says, what are the requirements for a part-time employee who works less than 20 hours to qualify for unemployment benefits? What are the requirements for a part-time employee who works less than 20 hours to qualify for unemployment benefits? Do these requirements change if they are still an employee and on the payroll? And how will this affect my claims percentage in the future? We'll let Clay and or Elsa kind of jump in on that question. And Elsa, you're unmuted, so you can hit it. Clay, okay.
I'll hit it. Good morning, everyone. You can hear me?
Yes.
Great. So I'm going to interpret this in a couple of ways. So part-time employee who's completely not working, had a part-time position, is no longer working. And then the other part seems, what if they're still an employee on the payroll? If you can qualify for unemployment benefits when you're completely unemployed, whether your position was full-time, part-time, seasonal, PRN, which is as needed, that does not stop you from being able to qualify for unemployment benefits. So if you were working part-time and completely lost that job, file for benefits. The fact that you were not working maybe 40 hours per week wouldn't affect whether or not you're qualified. What that might affect is the amount of benefits that you would get from regular state unemployment, because that's going to be dependent on your past wages. If you return to work for the part-time position and want to continue asking for benefits, that's fine, because you might still qualify again based on your past wages. It's a mathematical calculation at that point. But as a claimant, you're going to be required to report those hours, those earnings, the wages while you're working. And then TWC does the math. And depending on whether by your earnings you reach a certain threshold or not, that's going to basically decide whether or not you're still entitled to at least, some benefits. And if you're entitled to any of the regular state unemployment benefits, you would also still be entitled to the federal dollars that are coming in through the CARES program. And finally, how will this affect my claims percentage in the future? If you're talking about taxed employers, if the job separation resulted from the COVID-19 natural disaster, taxed employers are eligible for chargeback protection. Now, of course, this protection is not automatic. So employers out there who are saying, hey, everyone knows it's COVID, I'm not going to respond to claim notices, please respond to claim notices, because that's really the only way to preserve your appeal rights. I'm not saying we're going to get it wrong, but in case you don't end up with a chargeback protection, your timely response to the notice is the only way to preserve your rights. And that's going to be what you're going to need to then appeal later and get that straightened out. Not sure if Clay wants to add anything to that.
Yeah, and I'll add a little, but great job, Elsa. You're right on the money. One thing that I would just encourage individuals to do that are working a reduced schedule, working part-time, as long as they're working that part-time, and I know sometimes they go full-time and then back to part-time, full-time, continue to request payment. It's so much easier interacting with our system and requesting payment every 2 weeks than taking a break. And then sometimes you have to go reopen your claim. That takes a little longer. And sometimes really under these circumstances, it's harder to reach us. So I really encourage those individuals working a reduced part-time schedule, keep requesting payment every 2 weeks as long as they're continuing to be part-time. Now, and make sure they report their earnings and report their hours. But if they go back to work full-time and it's not part-time anymore at all, then they can stop then.
Good. Thank you, Clay, for joining, commenting on that one. I'm going to move to the second question. Would there be additional funding for residents as relief funds? Would there be additional funding for residents as relief funds? And so that's either Adriana, Kelly, or Pat, the workforce level, anything along those lines, additional funding for relief funds.
Well, I'll start talking, but if anybody has additional information to add after I finish, please do. I'm assuming potentially that the CARES Act funding might be relevant there. It is essentially relief funds for small businesses who find themselves in, like we all do, in the crisis. There were two loan options: the EIDL loan, which was the economic injury disaster loan, and then the other option was the payroll protection program. At the moment, the payroll protection program still has funds. So if companies haven't actually applied for it, they should, and they can up until June 30th. The terms have recently been adapted to be more business friendly, even more so. And I can talk about that later on if that's relevant to any of the questions. But they would be the two things I would think of right now, the two CARES Act loans, the EIDL loan and the PPP. You can apply for the EIDL loan online at the SBA website, and you can apply for the payroll protection program through your lender. All banks and also community development financial institutions are able to help you with the PPP.
Good. Thank you, Kelly.
And if you're an independent contractor or a freelancer, reach out to your local small business development center because they can help provide some guidance on some of these funds and relief funds that came through the CARES Act.
Thank you, Adriana. And so this is how to conduct virtual training for new employees amidst this COVID. And so new employees and virtual training, how do we do that? So Tommy or Pat, you guys can jump in on that.
Well, it's becoming a fact of life now that we're going to have to start improving the way that we do training and make it virtual. The latest thing we're doing, and it's happening across the state, is to purchase the software where we can hold virtual job fairs. We're searching the internet too for lots of training packages. I think there may be only a few out there now, but I'll guarantee you in about a month, the internet will be flooded with training programs that are virtual. Those will just, I think we've already repaired our policy system so that we can use out-of-state virtual training providers, which is a good change. So we're going to slowly move into that business, and I just want to encourage the employers to keep coming to us and let us know what their needs are, and we'll figure out the best way to get the training delivered.
Good, thank you, Pat. Question number 4, how do my employees apply for unemployment to help their reduced hours, and will it affect me? And so it's an employer asking, how do my employees apply for unemployment to help with the reduced hours, and will it affect me? Melissa, you want to pop on that one, and then Clay, you can add to it. Melissa?
Sure, I can start off. So there's two ways to do it. One way would be the employee files for unemployment themselves for partial unemployment benefits if they have a reduction of hours. As an alternative, the employer can instead sign up for TWC's shared work program. So that program is intended to help employers withstand a slowdown in business by filing for unemployment, on behalf of their workers and supplementing their lost wages with partial unemployment benefits. So the shared work program is something that employers sign up for on behalf of their employees. It takes some of the burden off of the employees, and it's a little more streamlined and arguably more efficient. So the shared work program is specifically for a reduction in hours and pay between 10 and 40%. So if you have more than one employee in a unit with suffering from a reduction in hours and pay between 10 and 40%, the employer can sign up for TWC's shared work program. And to do that, you can just go to texasworkforce.org. You can type shared work into the search bar at the top right-hand corner and get a lot of information on shared work. You can also apply for it online. So there's two ways. The employer can do it or the claimant can do it themselves.
Hey, you want to add anything?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I would, again, just encourage those people that are working part-time that do the traditional means of going to just ui.texasworkforce.org to be sure to report your earnings and hours and just continue to request payment every 2 weeks as long as you're working that reduced hour schedule.
That's right. And the second portion of how it will affect employers. Currently, if the reduction in hours or the layoff is due to COVID-19, the employer should not be charged. So even if the employer engages in the shared work program, if they're taking part in that program because of COVID-19, there should be chargeback protection for those employers.
Thank you, Melissa and Clay. And so can Texas Workforce Commission allow a local workforce board to add to the high demand job list based on local need? Again, it's asking if the Workforce Commission could allow a local workforce board to add to the high demand job list. It's probably the target occupation list based on local need. In the case of COVID-19, it is my opinion that retaining high skilled workers, robot technicians, machine operators, et cetera, is critical, is as critical as those that are key players in the recovery process. And so I'll let Dale kind of hit that basically, and it's going to be a Dale and a Pat combination in that regard, because Pat at the local level has the high occupation list. But Dale, you want to jump in on that one? Dale needs to
okay, good. Thank you. I am unmuted by the host. Yes,
right.
and so the short answer is yes. And I know Pat will add to this, but checking with my workforce development division folks, policy folks, that the local workforce boards are able to make adjustments to their targeted or demand occupation lists based on LMI data and other metrics. But they're also able to make decisions on updating their target occupations list based on local wisdom. And that's the sort of information that was referred to in the question about what you're seeing is the demand now. There's a new industry coming in or a changing industry, different jobs coming in about. So that allows, there's flexibility in the system that allows the workforce boards to adjust to local needs based on what's happening now.
Okay, thank you. Pat?
That's exactly right, and we do it all the time. Every board does. We're gonna see some changes to the workforce. Some jobs are actually going to disappear, and some new ones are going to pop up. One example is the new contact tracers. We don't have that on our list, but it's going to be on there very soon. All we have to do is justify to our board that we have local wisdom, that job is in demand. The board approves it. We change the list, send it to TWC for approval, and we're in business.
Okay. All right, thank you, Pat and Dale. So this is a question that we've heard a lot. We've heard multiple times that people receiving benefits for unemployment are getting $600 plus a week. That has created a sense of inequality for the people that are working. Employees are thinking they are going to make more money if they are unemployed. Businesses are losing employees to unemployment because of the incentive not to work. How is that going to be corrected? And so, Elsa, I want to say that Elsa and Melissa and I had an opportunity to do a video on this exact concept. They answered the top 3 questions that we're receiving. We did that in Spanish and in English. And so, Pat, I'll make sure that you guys have that. That's available we'll have this recorded, but that video, Elsa and Melissa did a phenomenal job of answering this question. And so Elsa, you want to take a stab at this one as well?
Thank you, Commissioner. And thanks for the easy question, everyone. So let me take care of this. We've been hearing this a lot. We've been hearing it for weeks. We're going to continue to hear it as we go through, because I see some questions in the chat about that already. Currently, the way the system is set up, thank you to the CARES Act, people who are on unemployment benefits who qualify otherwise because of pandemic unemployment or regular unemployment are receiving on top of their regular benefit an extra $600. For many people, based on what their wages were before, that means that on unemployment, they are making more money than they were at their job. Not going to sugarcoat it, straight talk, right? This is Texas. They're maybe making more money. How are we going to fix this? We understand that's there. There's a couple of ways that I think of correcting it, and because I like to take things down to basics, I'm going to give you how I think of it in the basic terms. The unemployment benefits that are there through the state and then through the federal program were there to assist people who lost their job through no fault of their own. They were not there to assist people who were working. Okay, so those of us who found ourselves able to keep our jobs, that's great. You know, we're not the intended beneficiaries of the unemployment benefits that were out there either through the state level or through the federal level. So how do we stop this? How do we correct this? By getting people back to work, right? If you're offered work and you're able to accept the work and it's suitable work, you're no longer the intended beneficiary of these benefits. So that's one. Two, as your employer, as you're bringing people back to work, if you have established that the job offer for your employee is suitable based on the kind of job that the person is doing, let's say they're coming back from the previous job that they had, so working conditions, pay, schedule, everything is suitable. Because of COVID, now employers also have the burden, if you will, the task of making sure that the work area is safe. So if you're following the authorities' guidelines for PPE and all the other safety, the safeguards in there, show your employee that it's suitable based on that. So if you can show that the job is suitable, you make the offer to the employee, and as Melissa would normally say, document the offer to make sure there's no question that the offer was made. Now it's on the employee to accept the work or not accept the work. TWC has some criteria, we have some guidance on certain reasons why somebody who's offered otherwise suitable work may reject that work. There's 6 criteria, and they're really related to the COVID-19 crisis. If the employee rejects that work because of those criteria, then that person could still end up getting benefits. That is something for TWC to investigate. So how do we do that? We need you, employer, to report to us if somebody has refused an offer of work. How do you do that? On our website, employer, if you go to our website, and I'm looking twc.texas.gov, twc.texas.gov, or as Clay was saying, I think, or Melissa, texasworkforce.org, or just, do a search for Texas Workforce Commission. On every page of our website is a red banner across the top. It's going to have a few links to it. Click on employers. Click on the employers. You're going to see a list, a submenu. And third on that list is a work refusal documentation. Click on that and report the employees that are refusing an offer of work that you believe to be a suitable offer of work. Let us take a look at it. Because if those employees are refusing to return to work for a reason that's not covered under our criteria or some other reason that might be a good cause to refuse, in other words, if they're refusing the work because they're saying I can make more on unemployment than I can at the job, that's not one of those reasons that maintains somebody on unemployment benefits. So keeping a job, having a job is great. The intended beneficiaries of these benefits are the people who are not working and are not able to work because of something that is, not their fault. So let us know, let us investigate. And that's what I have to add. I don't know if Clay wants to add something or anybody else does.
I think that's great, Elsa. I think
So,
you nailed it.
And we're running real close to our time here, and we have a lot of other questions, Pat. And so if we go over, we'll do that, or we'll cut off because I know it's at 11 o'clock or so. What I'm going to do is to throw out some questions that are here that you guys may be able to provide some real quick answers to some of the questions that were asked here. And so, Pat, one of them says, can Workforce Solutions Cameron provide job fairs so employers can hire skilled people who want to work? Can you guys do that?
Absolutely. That's one of our major activities. We've got a whole division called the Business Services Division that performs job fairs all the time. And we're getting into a routine, as I mentioned a while ago, where those job fairs can now be virtual and on site. So Henry, you want to add anything to that? Henry Castillo is my operations manager for the centers.
I see.
Yes, thank you, Pat, and welcome everybody. Yes, so we're actually, we've already conducted a virtual job fair. We've got another one scheduled for next week, and we're planning more. We're in the process of securing a specific job fair, virtual job fair platform. So we're hoping that will give us more opportunity to conduct more and more high quality virtual job fairs in the future. So if anybody's interested, reach out to us so we can try to set something up.
Okay, and just following along those lines real quick, is there an OJT program in place where we can hire unskilled labor and train them? Where can we get a list of applicants and their training history? Anything along that line, Henry or Pat?
Go ahead, Henry.
Yeah, so yes, we have an OJT program on the job training. We've been doing that for several years. That's been a part of our regular service delivery offering. If there's any employers that are looking for individuals for OJTs, they should reach out to us. What we do with OJTs is we don't have we have applicants that could qualify, but we really try to target these specifically to the needs of the employer. So in discussing this with the employer, an OJT opportunity, you would let us know what you're looking for specifically in a job, in a candidate. Now, the way our OJTs work is the employer has to hire the employee. What we do then is we turn around and reimburse the employer up to 50% of the straight wages that employee works over an agreed upon pre-planned training period. So again, if you are interested in OJT, you're looking to fill positions and would like us to help you identify qualified candidates that could qualify for OJT, just reach out to us here at Workforce Solutions Cameron.
Good. Thank you, Henry, for that. And so I'm going to hit this other question that's very important. And so, Melissa, I'll have it coming to you. What are employers going to be expected to do with employees not willing to return to work after they've been recalled? And so I also kind of talked a little bit about it, and this kind of couples in what is the process when employees do not want to return to work due to receiving unemployment? How is PwC addressing those UI recipients who do not want to come back to work even after the company has told them that it's safe to do so?
Sure, a couple of pieces. First of all, for employers, unless there's a contract or a collective bargaining agreement stating otherwise, you are not required to rehire those individuals when they're ready to return. So some employers are reaching out, offering work, and when employees decline, they're letting them know, you know, that's your decision, but just please know that when you're ready to come back, we can't guarantee that we'll have a job for you. You may need to replace them if they can't return. So I just wanted to put that in there first. Now, if you believe that employees are refusing work for a reason that's not good cause, for example, to stay on unemployment, you can report them to TWC for investigation. There's a couple of ways to do that. One could be to contact our fraud and waste department. You can do it by phone and you can do it by email. The phone number to the fraud department is 1-800-252-3642. You can also email the fraud department at twc.fraud@twc.state.tx.us. And if you're emailing, you can attach whatever text messages, emails, statements, whatever you have to corroborate the offer and the rejection. You can also go online to TWC's website. As Elsa stated, there's that red banner at the top. Click on the word employers, and there's going to be a link on that page where there's an online form where you can report refusals of work. From there, TWC will investigate. It's a case-by-case basis. So you'll have to, have some patience and let the process work itself out there. But that's what you can do to report the individuals who you believe are refusing work not for good reasons. And again, letting employees know that they won't be guaranteed a job if and when they're ready to return.
Thank you, Melissa. Good answer there. And so we, about the last 2 minutes or so, we only have 5 more questions left, and we're going to kind of summarize these quickly. It says, will small businesses receive assistance for payroll and other operating fixed costs? And so Kelly or Tommy can kind of hit that. And then it says, is there going to be an extension of this additional $600 in unemployment benefits? And so Clay or Elsa, you can hit that. So small businesses receive assistance for payroll and our other operating fixed costs. Kelly, anything along those lines?
Sure. Well, I'll take the opportunity to talk about the changes in the PPP. So the funding to support payroll costs and key overheads is the Payroll Protection Program. If you apply for it, you ideally originally were meant to apply to spend 75% of the loan on payroll costs and 25% on key overheads like rent, utility bills, and so on. They just improved the terms for small businesses, and they now require you to spend only 60% on payroll costs, which means 40% could actually go on overheads. So that change has occurred, and it is applicable to anybody who already has the PPP loan or anybody who wants to apply for it. Like I said earlier, the deadline for the PPP loan applications is June 30th. You need to apply before then. They have improved a number of other aspects of the payroll program. And I think since we're running out of time, I'm not going to go into that, but definitely if companies haven't applied for that, please do. There is still funding there. Go through your own lender or try a community development financial institution.
Good. Thank you, Kelly, for hitting that. And is there going to be an extension of the additional $600 in unemployment benefits, Clay?
We don't know right now. We know Congress is really taking this up. This is something they're looking at. Right now, there's not an extension in place. But we know Congress, and there was even a Senate hearing this week, and much of the discussion centered around the additional $600. And clearly, I think there's concern about the $600 amount, and I think there was consensus that needs to probably be reduced. What that new amount will be and how that will be calculated is still unknown, and so that's where things kind of sit right now.
Okay, thank you, Clay, for hitting that. And the last two questions, and then we're going to close out, Pat, giving it back to you with the last question. But before I get to Pat, will students graduating from universities be facing difficulties finding jobs due to COVID-19? How will Texas workforce be able to assist these students? How does the future look for new companies coming into the community along those lines? Tommy, anything you want to add on that regard?
Yes, we would encourage any students who are graduating from college to avail themselves of the really great services from the workforce solution centers around the state, which are ready to spring into action with all kinds of computer online software related resources and also referral related resources for that, and register with workintexas.com. There's a number of services available that workforce solution centers would be really great and willing to offer them. So they should not hesitate to contact TWC and the workforce solution centers around the state.
Good. Thank you, Tommy. And there are internship opportunities, and I have my intern here. I want her to wave just a second. Our intern here at the workforce, Azana. And so a recent graduate looking at maybe grad school, but internship opportunities are available. Work opportunities are available, and Texas employers are making a difference in doing that. And so our last question, Pat, as we turn it to you, and this is a question for you. Thank you, Anna. A question for you. How is Workforce Solutions helping people get back into the workforce? Our business is hurting because people do not want to work because they get more in unemployment benefits. We rely on temporary agencies to fill our job vacancies, and they tell us no one wants to accept any job assignments. So what are you guys doing to kind of help out in that regard, those Texas employers, get these folks back to work? And as I ask that question, thank you, Pat, for the opportunity, and we'll turn it back over to you to close out. And thanks to the governor's office, Melissa, Elsa, and Tommy, and Dale, and Clay as well. Pat, it's back to you.
Well, I want to thank the entire team up there, Aaron. You've all done a good job. This is not the first conference call we've had like this, and you just continue to amaze me with the genuine efforts of that whole team at TWC. So thank all of you. As far as what we're doing, we hear these complaints, and you've got some of those questions on your list of questions about the difficulty of hiring back some of these employees because of their unemployment benefits. About all we can do is tell the employer that they have the option to have that employee investigated, as Elsa and Melissa have already discussed. But we also assure them that if they want to replace that employee, we can certainly do so. We've got work in Texas with with lots of candidates out there. We just need to know what the job is. Come in and talk to us. Get your job registered on the Work in Texas system, and our job developers will help you find the right person to replace that worker that doesn't seem to want to come back. So as a closeout, let me say that I'm really proud of TWC and how they've stepped up with this pandemic. We now have at our disposal some skills development grants that are special COVID initiative grants that we can help businesses either do layoff aversion, in other words, help the business keep from closing. We have a lot of funding now for COVID-19 activities. In some cases, a business would open or expand or go full time if they had a little bit of assistance with preparing their business to accept new customers. We just put out an RFP for training businesses how to convert to e-commerce, taught by the TEACs out of Texas A&M. We've got a lot of things going on. My encouragement would be that you come and talk to us, tell us what your needs are, communicate your needs, and we'll work out a way to get it fixed. Thank you all for attending. We appreciate everything that you do. As the judge and the mayor said, you're the backbone of getting our economy back up and running. So please communicate with us, and this team will get it done for us.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Pat. Thanks for the opportunity.
All right.
All right. Thank you.